Imagine for a moment that every ounce of energy you waste, every fleeting pleasure you chase is a brick in the cage you've built around yourself. Most men live their entire lives imprisoned, blind to the power that pulses within them. Carl Jung called it psychic energy, the life force that fuels creation, will, and mastery. Yet we surrender it daily, unconsciously, in the pursuit of comfort, lust, and distraction. And here's the brutal truth. The moment you take control of this energy, the rules of life bend in your favor, and the weak are left behind, powerless to catch up. Most men never stop to consider how their desires dictate their lives. They chase fleeting pleasures, thinking they are enjoying life, when in reality, they are giving away their power. Semen retention is not about repression, it is about transmutation, the conscious redirection of raw energy toward ambition, discipline, and creativity. Jung, though never explicitly prescribing it, hinted at this principle through his studies of libido, not just as sexual energy, but as the fuel for the psyche, the force behind transformation, courage, and the emergence of the self. This isn't philosophy for philosophy's sake. This is about understanding how most men are unconsciously enslaved by their own instincts. Lust, indulgence, constant gratification, these are not harmless. They chip away at your energy, blur your focus, and cloud your clarity. Every time you give in, you're choosing the comfort of mediocrity over the fire of discipline. Now, consider the alternative. Imagine redirecting that energy into your ambitions, into the projects, skills, and relationships that define your life. Semen retention becomes a symbolic act of self-mastery, a daily affirmation that your will is stronger than instinct, that your discipline trumps desire, that you are the architect of your own destiny. This is where most men falter. They see discipline as punishment, willpower as deprivation, instead of recognizing it as a path to liberation. Jung's teachings offer a window into this truth. Our libido, when guided, is not mere desire. It is psychic energy waiting to be harnessed. In men, this energy can fuel creativity, magnetism, and influence. In women, it manifests differently, but for the man who masters it, it becomes a source of unstoppable momentum. Think about it. Every day that passes without control over your instincts, without awareness of this inner energy, you drift further into mediocrity. But the moment you claim it, your entire perception changes. You stop being a passive actor in life and begin to shape reality itself. And here's the truth almost no one will tell you. The energy you waste isn't just lost. It's actively being stolen by the world around you, by distractions, temptations, and people who want to keep you weak. Let me reveal to you exactly how men unknowingly give away their power every single day, and why only a few manage to reclaim it can make you become unstoppable. Most men will never understand this. But the moment you do, nothing will ever hold you back. Most men walk through life completely unaware of the energy they are leaking. They scroll endlessly on screens, chase fleeting pleasures, and satisfy every passing urge, thinking it's harmless. Yet each act of indulgence chips away at their vitality, their clarity, and their presence. Carl Jung called this psychic energy, a force far more powerful than most men realize. And it is being wasted every single day by those who fail to master themselves. Think about the average man. He wakes up exhausted, distracted, and fragmented. His focus is scattered because he has surrendered his power, piece by piece, to instant gratification. Each scroll, each lustful impulse, each moment of indulgence quietly siphons his energy, leaving him less capable of achievement, less magnetic, and less disciplined. And the frightening part, he doesn't even notice. He feels normal. He thinks he is living fully, yet he is a shadow of what he could be. The key to understanding this lies in Jung's teachings about libido. Most interpret libido only as sexual desire, but Jung viewed it as psychic energy, the raw fuel of creativity, ambition, and transformation. When this energy is uncontrolled, it disperses into the world in aimless ways. When it is harnessed, it becomes a weapon. Every ounce of energy you retain and redirect strengthens your mind, your body, and your influence. Now let's examine how the world conspires to steal this energy from men. Modern society is structured around distraction, entertainment, social media, constant notifications, endless temptations. All of these are traps designed to scatter your focus. Every time you give in, you feed the system that wants to keep men weak, reactive, and compliant. The untrained man is a puppet, moved by lust and impulse, unaware that the strings have been placed in his own hands. But a few men see through this. They understand that discipline is not punishment, but power. They retain their energy, direct it toward mastery, and as a result, life bends toward them. Their confidence grows, their influence expands, and their ability to act decisively becomes almost magnetic. In other words, they become unstoppable. This is not luck. It is the consequence of reclaiming what others squander. In the next part, we will explore the exact practices men can adopt to stop giving away their energy. You'll discover how discipline, focus, and conscious control of desire transforms not just your body, but your mind and your destiny. Only those who act will experience this power. The rest remain trapped in mediocrity, unaware of what they are missing. Few men ever realize how much they give away daily, but the ones who do will never be the same. The difference is immense, and it begins with awareness. Most men have been taught that desire is something to be indulged, to be satisfied at every opportunity. Society glorifies giving in, telling men that their instincts are natural and harmless. Yet, what they fail to understand is that desire is energy, and energy is life itself. Every moment a man gives in to fleeting pleasures, every impulse he surrenders to, he drains the force that could have propelled him to greatness. Carl Jung understood this. Libido is not merely sexual, it is the driving force of the psyche, the same energy that fuels creativity, courage, and ambition. Men who fail to master it are destined to remain ordinary, their potential squandered in invisible ways. This is where semen retention becomes more than a practice. It becomes a philosophy, a method of reclaiming power that has always been yours. When a man learns to hold, to redirect, and to transmute his energy, he begins to notice changes that are impossible to ignore. Clarity sharpens, motivation rises, focus becomes effortless. Tasks that once seemed arduous now feel manageable. The energy once spent on indulgence is now channeled toward creation, self-mastery, and influence. It is the same principle Jung observed in individuals who harnessed their libido for artistic or intellectual achievement. Energy properly directed does not dissipate, it multiplies. But here's the subtle part that most men miss. It's not just about abstaining. True transformation requires conscious redirection, a deliberate effort to turn primal urges into productive energy. Lust is not evil, it is powerful, it is neutral. What makes it dangerous is the unconscious surrender to it. When men act impulsively, they release energy into the void, strengthening habits, addictions, and distractions that weaken their psyche. When men act consciously, they redirect this same force into projects, ambitions, relationships, and skills that build influence and mastery. The energy does not vanish. It becomes amplified willpower. This process is not easy. Discipline is rarely comfortable. It requires patience, self-awareness, and a willingness to confront one's weaknesses. Jung emphasized the importance of the shadow, the part of the psyche that houses desires, impulses, and instincts that we often deny or suppress. Ignoring the shadow leads to weakness. Confronting it, mastering it, and using it as a source of power leads to strength, magnetism, and authority. Every act of self-mastery, no matter how small, compounds over time. Consider the man who has mastered his energy. His presence is magnetic. He commands respect without demanding it. His mind is clear, his actions deliberate. Opportunities that eluded him before now appear almost effortlessly. This is not coincidence. It is the natural consequence of transforming desire into focused, unstoppable energy. Whereas other men remain distracted, reactive, and scattered, he acts with precision, guided by an inner force that is invisible yet unmistakable. And yet there is a deeper layer that few speak of. Energy is not simply for achievement or ambition. It is also the foundation of inner freedom. A man who controls his desires is not a slave to circumstance, opinion, or external validation. He does not bend to fleeting temptations or momentary pleasures. He acts from a place of strength, not weakness. This is the essence of power that Jung hinted at. When libido is harnessed, it transforms from a primitive force into a psychic weapon, a source of self-mastery that shapes reality itself. In the next part, we will examine how this mastery translates into influence over others, how retaining and redirecting energy amplifies personal magnetism, and why the few men who practice this consistently become forces of nature in their environments. We will reveal the subtle ways that controlled energy affects perception, relationships, and even the opportunities that life presents to those who are prepared to seize them. The moment you transform desire into deliberate action, you stop being ordinary. You step into a current of force that carries you forward, and the world begins to bend to your presence without you even asking. The secret is hidden in plain sight, and only a few have the courage to claim it. When a man learns to control his desires, something extraordinary begins to happen. The energy that once scattered and wasted becomes magnetism, an almost tangible force that emanates from him and affects everything in his environment. This is not charisma in the superficial sense, nor is it learned social skill. This is a force born of discipline, awareness, and the conscious redirection of energy that most men throw away without a second thought. Carl Jung hinted at this transformation, describing libido not simply as sexual energy, but as psychic energy, the hidden current that fuels creativity, courage, and influence. The man who understands this principle is no longer ordinary. He moves differently, speaks differently, and interacts with the world on a level that those still enslaved by impulses cannot comprehend. Presence becomes not a matter of words or performance, but a weighty force that commands attention naturally, effortlessly. Most men will never notice this, because they remain enslaved by their impulses, reacting instead of acting. They chase gratification, distract themselves, and succumb to fleeting pleasures, each moment quietly eroding their potential. They do not see the invisible theft of energy that occurs when desire is left unchecked. Meanwhile, the man who retains and redirects his energy experiences life differently. Every glance, every action, every word carries intentionality. His mind is clear, his focus sharp, and his actions deliberate. What was once wasted on indulgence is now converted into influence, authority, and clarity of purpose. The world begins to respond to him because he is no longer fragmented, reactive, or distracted. He acts with precision, fueled by a force invisible to most, yet undeniably present. And here is the subtle truth that most overlook. This energy, when harnessed, affects more than just personal achievement. It shapes relationships, it alters perception. Friends, colleagues, and even strangers unconsciously recognize it, drawn to him or subtly intimidated by him. They sense a mastery of self that is rare, a command over life that is invisible yet palpable. The energy manifests in subtle ways: a confident posture, a controlled tone, a presence that feels larger than the room. Others may not understand why they feel compelled to listen, follow, or respect, but the reason is clear: he has mastered what most men surrender. Yet mastery is not meant to be hoarded. Knowledge, power, and discipline gain their true value when shared. If you recognize the significance of this insight, extend it to the men in your life who remain lost, drifting, and unknowingly giving away their potential. Teach them, show them, or at least point them toward the truth. Share this video with those who need it most. Men who are still slaves to fleeting pleasures and distractions. Men who have yet to realize the force they are wasting. Encourage them to see the hidden currents of energy and understand the consequences of surrender versus control. And if you wish to continue this journey, to explore the depths of self-mastery and discover how energy can be transformed into influence, power, and freedom, subscribe now. Join a community of men who are willing to look beyond instant gratification, who seek clarity in a world designed to scatter their focus, and who want to reclaim the force that defines their lives. Let this insight spread, because only a few will act on it. And those who do will shape their destiny in ways most men cannot imagine. Finally, let's explore the ultimate consequences of mastery versus surrender, revealing the stark difference between men who live as shadows of their potential and those who harness their energy fully, becoming unstoppable forces in every domain of life. We will uncover the truth of what happens when desire is mastered and the unseen rewards that the world only grants to those who take control of themselves. The moment you understand the invisible currents that govern life, the moment you harness them instead of submitting, everything changes, and those who embrace this path will never see the world the same way again. What is a man without discipline? A slave to his impulses, a prisoner to his desires, a being tossed around by forces stronger than his own will. Jung believed that the path to becoming whole required more than knowledge. It required sacrifice. And semen retention, whether you agree with it or not, symbolizes the ultimate form of sacrifice. It's the refusal to let life force be wasted on fleeting gratification. It's a rebellion against weakness. The modern world is built on indulgence. Everything pushes you toward the easy path, scrolling endlessly, watching what stimulates, consuming what dulls your edge. Retention is the opposite. It's the sharpening of your blade. When you deny yourself the instant release, you don't lose energy. You redirect it. That energy builds inside you like fire under pressure. It fuels ambition, confidence, intensity. You start walking into rooms differently. People feel it before you speak. That is power. Jung wrote about the necessity of integrating one's instincts instead of being devoured by them. Most men never even try. They spend their lives chasing comfort, and the instinct runs their lives into ruin. But the man who practices discipline is dangerous. He doesn't just suppress his instincts. He masters them, he channels them, he forges them into strength. Retention is a daily reminder of that mastery. Think of what happens when you let discipline guide your life. Your focus deepens, your mind sharpens. You start to see your weaknesses clearly, and instead of hiding from them, you confront them head on. You break addictions, you wake up earlier, you lift heavier, you speak with more conviction. Opportunities seem to appear not because the universe magically delivers them, but because your presence has changed. You're not scattered, you're directed, you're not drained, you're charged. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Most men will never reach this level. They will laugh at it. They will mock the idea. They will say it's unnecessary, and they will remain stuck, weak, distracted, broken. Not because they didn't have the potential, but because they couldn't discipline themselves. Jung warned us, the man who does not conquer himself will be conquered by the world. So where does this leave you? It leaves you with a choice. To continue living as a slave to pleasure, or to rise into the version of yourself that men silently envy and women quietly respect. The man who carries power in his silence, whose eyes speak louder than his words. The man whose discipline radiates through every action. Discipline is not glamorous. It is not easy. It will test you daily. But if you hold the line, if you keep your energy, if you keep your word to yourself, then you are no longer just living. You are building. Every day becomes a step in the creation of a man who cannot be broken. That is what Jung was really pointing at. Individuation, becoming whole, becoming a force that cannot be bent by the collective, by weakness, by temptation. You hold yourself. You master yourself, and when you do, the world bends to you. This is the secret no one wants men to hear, because a disciplined man is not easy to control. He cannot be distracted. He cannot be manipulated. He is too focused, too aware, too powerful. So now the question is not whether semen retention works. The real question is whether you will dare to practice the discipline it represents, whether you will rise above the noise, whether you will step into the version of yourself that is waiting on the other side of struggle. Because in the end, it's not just about retention. It's about reclaiming your life, your power, your destiny. The world is waiting to see which man you will become.